What happens when a white mob boss calls Bumpy Johnson the N-word in front of 200 witnesses? Most men would have started a war that night. Some would have let it slide to keep the peace. But Bumpy Johnson, he did something far more calculated. September 16th, 1935. Cotton Club, Harlem, New York. Schultz, one of the most powerful gangsters in America, publicly disrespected Bumpy Johnson with a racial slur that echoed across the entire room. Bumpy didn't react, didn't raise his voice, didn't throw a punch. He just looked at Dutch, smiled, and walked away. 8 days later, 8 of Dutch Schultz's men were dead. Not in one night, not in one shootout. 8 different deaths, 8 different locations. 8 messages, and by day 9, the most feared mobster in New York was begging for a truce. This is how Bumpy Johnson turned racism into a weapon against the man who tried to humiliate him. September 16th, 1935. Monday night, the Cotton Club is absolutely packed. Over 200 people crammed into the most famous nightclub in Harlem. The stage show is spectacular. Duke Ellington's orchestra is playing. Dancers are performing. The illegal whiskey is flowing freely. Despite Prohibition still being in effect, the crowd is mixed in a way that's rare for 1935 America. Wealthy white socialites from downtown Manhattan, black performers and musicians, Italian mobsters, Jewish gangsters, politicians, celebrities. Everyone who's anyone in New York ends up at the Cotton Club eventually. The atmosphere is electric. Conversations are loud. Laughter echoes. Money changes hands under tables. This is where power meets entertainment, meets crime, meets culture. At a table near the back, away from the stage, but with a clear view of the entire room, sits Bumpy Johnson. He's 30 years old, wearing an immaculate navy blue suit, white shirt, silk tie, gold watch, chain visible. He's talking quietly with 3 men from his crew. They're discussing the numbers game. Who's running what routes? Which cops need payments this week? Standard business. Bumpys.com. Relax, this is his territory. His city? He's not just another gangster in the Cotton Club. He's Harlem royalty. Everyone knows him. Everyone respects him. He's built that respect over years of being smart, strategic, and absolutely ruthless when necessary. Then the front door opens, and the energy shifts. Dutch Schultz walks in, and when Dutch Schultz enters a room, people notice. He's 33 years old, born Arthur Flegenheimer in the Bronx. Jewish-German heritage. He's one of the most powerful mobsters in America, controls bootlegging operations across New York, runs illegal speakeasies, numbers rackets, labor unions, protection schemes. He's made millions during Prohibition, and he's got a reputation for extreme violence. He once shot a man in the face over a $2 bet. He's unpredictable, paranoid, and openly racist. Dutch has been trying to expand into Harlem for months. He sees the money black communities are spending on the numbers game, and he wants a piece of it. But every time he's tried to move in, Bumpy Johnson has blocked him. Politely at first, then more firmly. And tonight, Dutch Schultz is drunk, angry, and ready to make a statement. Dutch walks across the Cotton Club floor with 4 of his guys behind him. He's not subtle about it. He's loud, aggressive. He stops at a few tables, slaps some backs, makes jokes, but his eyes keep drifting to Bumpy's table. Finally, he makes his move. He walks directly over. His crew fans out, and Dutch stands right in front of Bumpy's table. The conversations at nearby tables die down. People sense something's about to happen. Bumpy looks up. Come! He knows who Dutch is, Eber John Doors, but he doesn't stand. Doesn't show deference, just meets Dutch's eyes and waits. Dutch leans down, gets close, and then, loud enough for surrounding tables to hear, he says it the N-word. Not whispered, not muttered. He spits it out with venom, calls Bumpy the N-word, and tells him that his days of controlling Harlem are over. Says, from now on, Bumpy works for him or doesn't work at all. The room doesn't go silent. The band keeps playing, but the energy changes. Every black person in the room heard it. Every white person heard it, and everyone is now watching Bumpy Johnson to see what he'll do. Because this isn't just disrespect. This is a public racial humiliation in 1935 America, an era where lynchings are still common, where black men are murdered for far less, where responding to a white man's insult can mean death. Bumpy Johnson doesn't stand up, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't reach for a weapon. He just stares at Dutch Schultz for what feels like an eternity. Tennis. It's not a friendly smile. It's the kind of smile that should have warned Dutch to walk away, and Bumpy says, very quietly, "You got 8 days. That's it." 4 words. Then Bumpy goes back to his drink, picks up his bourbon, takes a sip, like nothing happened. Dutch laughs. Loud and obnoxious. He thinks he just dominated Bumpy Johnson in front of everyone. He thinks he made his point. He walks away with his crew, still laughing, still talking loud, and he leaves the Cotton Club thinking he won. But here's what Dutch Schultz didn't understand. In the underworld, especially in Harlem, reputation is everything. And what Dutch just did wasn't just insulting one man. It was insulting an entire community. Every black person in that room felt that slur. And Bumpy Johnson isn't just any gangster. He's the man who protects Harlem, who keeps it organized, who makes sure outside forces can't come in and exploit his people. And Dutch Schultz just publicly tried to humiliate him using racism as a weapon. That's not something you walk away from. That's not something you let slide. And Bumpy Johnson isn't about to start a loud, messy that would bring police attention. Federal attention. It would hurt his community. No. Bumpy Johnson is going to do something far more calculated. He's going to dismantle Dutch Schultz's operation one piece at a time. The next morning, September 17th, Bumpy sits down with his most trusted advisors, Marcus Webb, Raymond Lewis, Thomas Bishop. These are men who've been with Bumpy for years, men who understand strategy. Bumpy lays out the plan. He's not going after Dutch directly. That would start an all-out war. Instead, he's going after Dutch's crew, his enforcers, his money men, his suppliers, his infrastructure. 1 death a day. Different methods, different locations. So it looks random. So it looks like bad luck. Until Dutch Schultz realizes it's all connected. Until he realizes that racial slur just cost him everything. Day 1. September 17th. A man named Otto Berman is walking to his car in the Bronx. Otto's Dutch Schultz's accountant. He handles the books. Knows where every dollar comes from and goes. He's leaving his apartment building around 8 in the morning. Early for a gangster. But Otto's a creature of habit. Routine, predictable. He reaches his car. A black Packard. Pulls out his keys. And as he's unlocking the door, a single gunshot rings out from a nearby rooftop. The bullet hits Otto in the back of the head. He drops instantly, dead before he hits the pavement. The shooter is gone within seconds. No witnesses, no evidence. The police investigate. They conclude it's a robbery gone wrong. Maybe a rival gang, but they don't have leads. Otto Berman is dead, and Dutch Schultz just lost the man who kept his entire financial operation organized. Day 2, September 18th. Lulu Rosenkrantz, one of Dutch's top enforcers. Lulu's dangerous. He's the guy Dutch sends when he needs someone hurt badly. Lulu's walking out of a speakeasy in Hell's Kitchen around midnight. He's been drinking, not drunk, but loose. He walks down West 47th Street. Dark, quiet, and 3 men step out of an alley. They're wearing dark clothes. Hats pulled low. Before Lulu can even react, they're on him. Knives. Quick. Brutal. 15 stab wounds. Lulu fights back, but he's outnumbered. He goes down in the street, bleeding out. The attackers disappear into the night. By the time police arrive, Lulu's dead. The cops write it off as a mugging. Wrong place, wrong time. But Dutch Schultz knows better. 2 of his key guys dead in 2 days. That's not coincidence. Day 3, September 19th, a warehouse in Brooklyn. This is where Dutch stores his bootleg liquor. Cases and cases of illegal whiskey and gin worth thousands of dollars. At 3 in the morning, a fire starts, nobody knows how. No witnesses see anyone near the building, but the fire spreads fast. By the time firefighters arrive, the entire warehouse is engulfed. Everything inside is destroyed. Dutch Schultz just lost a month's worth of inventory, tens of thousands of dollars gone. And still, no clear connection. It could be an accident, could be arson, could be a rival gang, but Dutch is starting to feel it. Depressure. Day 4, September 20th. Vincent Coll, not technically part of Dutch's crew anymore. Vincent used to work for Dutch, but they had a falling out. Now Vincent runs his own small operation. But Dutch still uses him for certain jobs. Plausible deniability. Vincent's in the Bronx. Eating at a diner, broad daylight, noon. He's sitting in a booth near the window when a car pulls up outside. 2 men get out, walk calmly into the diner, pull out pistols, and unload on Vincent Coll. 6 shots. Vincent dies slumped over his lunch. The shooters walk out, get in the car, drive away. Police investigate. They think it's related to Vincent's own criminal activity. Plenty of people wanted him dead, but Dutch Schultz knows. 4 days. 4 incidents. This is personal. Day 5, September 21st. A numbers runner named Joey works for Dutch in the Bronx. Joey's small-time Collex bets delivers money. Nobody important, but he's loyal to Dutch. Joey's walking home from his route around 6 in the evening. Residential neighborhood, families, kids playing, and a car slows down next to him. Window rolls down. Shotgun blast. Joey's hit in the chest. He dies on the sidewalk while children scatter, screaming. The car speeds away. Neighbors call the police, but nobody got a license plate. Nobody saw the shooter's face clearly. Joey's death is written off as gang violence. Collateral damage. But Dutch Schultz is panicking now. Because 5 days, 5 attacks, and he finally realizes this started the day after the Cotton Club. The day after he insulted Bumpy Johnson. Day 6, September 22nd. A woman named Isabel. She's Dutch's girlfriend, not his wife. His mistress. She lives in a nice apartment on the Upper West Side that Dutch pays for. She's got no involvement in the criminal side of his business. She's just a woman who likes the lifestyle and the money. Around 9 at night, there's a knock on her door. She opens it thinking it might be Dutch. Instead, it's 2 well-dressed black men. They don't threaten her, don't touch her. They just hand her an envelope. Inside is $5,000 in cash and a note. The note says, "Leave New York tonight. Don't come back. This is your only warning." Isabel is terrified. She packs a bag, takes the money, and is on a train to Chicago within 2 hours. She never contacts Dutch again, never returns to New York. Dutch Schultz loses the woman he cared about without a shot being fired. Day 7, September 23rd. This is the day Dutch Schultz realizes he's lost. His right-hand man, his most trusted lieutenant, a man named Marty. Marty's been with Dutch since the beginning. He's the strategist, the planner, the guy who keeps Dutch from making stupid, impulsive decisions. Marty is having lunch at a restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. Public place, crowded, safe. Except it's not. At 1:15 in the afternoon, 2 men walk into the restaurant. They walk straight to Marty's table, and in front of 50 witnesses, they shoot him multiple times. Head, chest, no hesitation. They don't run. They walk out calmly, get into a waiting car, and vanish into Manhattan traffic. Police respond within minutes. They interview witnesses, but nobody can agree on what the shooters looked like, or the car, or anything useful. Marty, Krompier, is dead, and Dutch Schultz finally understands. This isn't random. This is systematic. This is Bumpy Johnson. Day 8, September 24th. Dutch Schultz makes a phone call. He swallows his pride, his ego, his racism, and he calls a number he got through a mutual contact. The phone rings in Harlem. Marcus Webb answers. Dutch asks for a meeting, says he wants to talk, wants to negotiate. Marcus listens, then says he'll ask. 2 hours later, Marcus calls back. The meeting is set. Neutral Ground, a restaurant in the Bronx. 8 o'clock tonight. Dutch arrives with one bodyguard. Bumpy arrives with 2 of his men. They sit at a table in the back. The restaurant owner has been paid to keep everyone else out. It's just the 2 of them now. Dutch Schultz looks terrible. He's aged a decade and 8 days. Stress, fear, sleepless nights. He starts talking. Says he made a mistake. Says he was drunk. Says he shouldn't have said what he said at the Cotton Club. He doesn't apologize directly. Men like Dutch Schultz don't apologize. But he's as close as he'll ever get. He says he'll stay out of Harlem. No more trying to move into the numbers game. No more conflict. He just wants this to stop. Bumpy Johnson sits across from him. Come. He lets Dutch finish till he speaks. His voice is quiet, but every word carries weight. He says, "You came into my city, into my club, and you used that word. Not in private, in front of my people. You thought you could humiliate me because of the color of my skin. You thought I'd accept it because you're white and powerful." Bumpy leans forward. "In 8 days, you lost your accountant, your enforcer, your warehouse, your hired gun, your collector, your woman, your right hand. And this is just the beginning. I can keep going. I've got names, addresses, schedules. I can dismantle everything you've built, piece by piece. Or," Bumpy pauses, "you leave Harlem alone. Forever. You don't send men here. You don't collect money here. You don't even set foot here. And in return, I stop. Your remaining crew lives. Your operations outside Harlem continue. But you stay out of my city." Dutch Schultz doesn't hesitate. He agrees. Immediately. Completely. He knows he's beaten. He knows that if this continues, he'll have nobody left. Bumpy Johnson nods. The meeting ends. They don't shake hands. There's no goodwill here. Just a cold, calculated business arrangement. Dutch Schultz leaves the restaurant, goes back to his operations in other parts of New York, and he never steps foot in Harlem again. Not once. For the rest of his life, which, ironically, isn't very long. In October 1935, just a month after this meeting, Dutch Schultz is assassinated by the Italian-American Mafia. They kill him in a Newark restaurant, but that's a different story. What matters here is that in his final month of life, Dutch Schultz never again tried to challenge Bumpy Johnson. Word spreads fast in the underworld. Every gangster in New York hears about what happened, how Dutch Schultz insulted Bumpy Johnson with a racial slur and lost 8 men in 8 days, how the most violent mobster in New York backed down, how Bumpy Johnson won a war without ever starting a battle. The story becomes legend. It sends a message to every Italian, Jewish, and Irish mobster in the city. Harlem is off limits. Not because it's poor or unimportant, but because it's protected by a man who's smarter, more strategic, and more patient than any of them. A man who doesn't need to be the loudest or the most violent. He just needs to be the most effective. For the black community in Harlem, the story means something different. It's proof that even in 1935, in an era of Jim Crow laws and widespread racism, they have a protector, someone who won't let them be exploited, who won't let outsiders come in and disrespect them. Bumpy Johnson becomes more than a gangster. He becomes a symbol of pride, of strength, of resistance. And that reputation carries him for decades. Through prison sentences, through conflicts with other gangs, through changing times and shifting power dynamics, Bumpy Johnson's legend is built on moments like this, moments where he turned oppression into strategy, where he made racists pay for their hatred. There's a broader lesson here, too. about power, about respect, about how real strength isn't always loud or violent. Dutch Schultz thought power meant being the most aggressive person in the room, thought he could use racism as a tool to break someone down. He was wrong. Bumpy Johnson understood that real power is about control, about patience, about knowing exactly how to dismantle an enemy without giving them a target to fight back against. 8 men dead in 8 days. Different causes, different locations. No pattern the police could trace. But Dutch Schultz knew. And everyone else knew. That's the kind of power that lasts. This story also reveals something uncomfortable about organized crime in 1930s America. The racism, the casual cruelty. Dutch Schultz wasn't unique in his attitudes. Most white gangsters of that era saw black criminals as inferior, thought they could be pushed around, thought Harlem was easy territory to take. But Bumpy Johnson proved them wrong. Ober and ober, he showed that intelligence beats brute force, that community loyalty beats individual power, that a man who understands his city, his people, and his enemies can win wars that others don't even realize are being fought. September 16th, 1935. One racial slur, 200 witnesses, 8 days of calculated retaliation, and a power shift that echoed through New York's underworld for decades. Dutch Schultz learned too late that you don't disrespect Bumpy Johnson. Not in his city. Not with racism. Not and survive with your empire intact. By the time Dutch realized his mistake, he'd already lost. The men. The money. The woman. The respect. All gone. Because 3 decades before the Civil Rights Movement, in a Harlem nightclub filled with jazz and illegal whiskey, Bumpy Johnson proved that black excellence, black strategy, and black power could defeat white supremacy. One calculated move at a time. That's the real story of Dutch Schultz's racial insult. Not just 8 deaths, but a message that reverberated through history. That respect isn't given. It's demanded. That racism isn't just morally wrong. It's strategically stupid. And that the most dangerous enemy is the one who smiles at your insult, walks away calmly, and then dismantles your entire world while you're still laughing.